Hey guys, just a few things to cover in this video. A bit of housekeeping firstly, with some updates from previous videos. So the Dawn thread lining embellishment I was talking about, my prediction / recommendation, the logs I've looked at so far, it's already massively outperforming the default uptime in Sims. And as I've talked about, this already under Sims because you get significantly higher uptime inside of your Bloodlust CDs, etc. on pretty much every fight. So I'm obviously only looking at early mythic bosses because that's all that's available, and Heroic Queen. Later bosses will do more damage, but you will gain a lot of item level as well. But I think by the time you get halfway through the raid on mythic, this Nerubian armor banding might be better, which I didn't mention in the last video. I probably should have, but basically it buffs the ascension effect on your crafted weapon, a bit like Toxic Patch from last expansion. So yeah, right now Dawn thread lining really looking good, but yeah, check your logs. If uptime drops, you can recraft as needed, like if it goes below 60%. But yeah, just an update on that. So next up, the Wild Slashes video I did a while ago. I still get the odd question asking if this ended up being viable, and at the time in the video I said we'll have to see when Mythic Plus testing opens how it goes. But yeah, we have an answer now, and that is no. It didn't translate that well into Mythic Plus. I think if Feral was ever in MDI or like a dungeon with really big pools where you can funnel with combo points, it could be good. But yeah, never say never. When I was playing Brutal Slash in dungeons during Dragonflight testing, very few people believed me that it was good till a month or two after. And even in Shadowlands, like Brutal Slash builds I was playing around with no Primal Wrath were performing pretty well. So moral of the story, never say never, even for Wild Slashes, but yeah, probably not very good right now. Also, the Thrashing Claws LI build, I'm very happy to say that this is actually viable because it's not just one of my favorite cooks, but in my opinion, one of the funnest Feral builds you can play, maybe ever. And I said at the time it felt strong, but yeah, the fact that it sims well is very promising. One correction I do have to make is you should probably play Convoke with this, mainly because Incarn is struggling right now. But yeah, you can see the talent build on screen now. So next up, Feral got buffed, and I've seen some people asking questions about it. Some people who took it a bit poorly, thinking we got nerfed. So Blood Talon's line strength was only added to Rampant Ferocity for like a week. About a week ago, it's now removed. It was a hasty decision by them, I think, is my assumption, to the W build as it's referred to, without Predatory Swiftness and BTLS. But yeah, this build wasn't viable anyway for many reasons. It was kind of sim bait, but some guides included it. So Blizzard quickly reacted like a week ago. They've now reverted it back to how it was. Instead, they buffed Rip and Ferocious Bite and Ravage as well instead, which means Feral is not nerfed. This is actually a better outcome for Feral because we don't always take Rampant Ferocity in all content, so Rip and Bite damage is always more useful. So beyond tuning, just on a gameplay level, I'll explain why I think they reverted it. So this is the basic finisher priority for Feral in AoE. I've talked a little bit about it in previous videos, talk more about it in future videos I'm sure, but the first thing of course is getting Rip up with Primal Wrath and maintaining it. Second is upgrading Rip, the snapshot, if you can upgrade it. So with Tiger's Fury Blood Talons, for example, you enter Tiger's Fury, naturally your next finisher is going to be Primal Wrath. We'll ignore Ravage for now, but Primal Wrath, because it's not just adding to step 1, it's adding duration, but it's also upgrading the Rip, adding damage. Likewise, if you mess up your BT, you just apply your Primal Wrath, you proc BT afterwards, and you Primal Wrath again. Still does direct damage, it's still adding to duration, and it's upgrading the Rip. Third priority is then Bite. If Rip isn't going to fall off and it can't be upgraded, then you weave the Bite. So what the BT RF change did, it meant it removed snapshotting gameplay in AoE largely. So it just became about maintaining Rip and weaving Bite. So it looks something like this. And this wasn't just affecting Blood Talons, but it was also affecting Tiger's Fury because RF was doing enough damage that you just didn't care about either snapshot. It just became about weaving as many bites as possible. And if snapshotting Rip is something you don't care about anymore, that's kind of a huge problem, right? Because it's been the core aspect of Feral since forever. And Primal Wrath is still our core finisher, AoE finisher. It's what we press the most with our combo points, and Weaving Bites this expansion is amazing. It's one of the best changes to Feral, but it shouldn't be so dominant that it supersedes Rip, right? Like, especially if they've made an effort to make Tiger's Fury snapshotting gameplay more relevant again. So kind of would have gone against their own design goals. So we're back to this, nothing changes. There's also many other gameplay reasons. So I just talked about snapshotting, but think about energy, right? If there's less reasons to press Primal Wrath, you're constantly trying to weave bites, which are 50 energy. That's going to be really taxing on your energy, and being energy starved is going to add complexity. It's going to add frustration, and snapshotting adds a reason to Primal Wrath more, which is 25 energy. BT not affecting RF also means you aren't punished as much biting, without BT charges. For example, if you get spam Apex procs, you want to be able to freely spend them without feeling like you're losing too much damage. And trying to excessively proc Blood Talons while you're getting Apex procs or while you're inside of Berserk, it's not going to feel good, right? Also, I think it's good gameplay that there's a little bit of a finisher priority with BT, where one finisher benefits a bit more and one a little bit less. So when you don't have BT, like you mess up proccing it or you simply run out of charges naturally, you can, instead of downgrading your Rip or whatever, you can weave a bite instead. And that feels good because you're not only not downgrading your Rip, but bite doesn't benefit as much. So it's okay to just send the bite, make that decision, and not feel bad for not having BT. It's a nice little choice you can make, and it's just kind of fluid, I think, where there's a bit of a priority, trying to prioritize Rip a bit more, sometimes making decisions based on your charges, like your BT charges. I think it's just kind of intuitive that Feral prioritizes snapshotting Rip over bites, whereas if they're equal, it just becomes kind of boring. It goes back to this where you just maintain Rip and you weave a bite. So there's more I can say on this. I can bore you guys with other stuff, but at the end of the day, this change mattered a lot, and that's why they reverted it and buffed our regular finishes instead. So massive props to them. We go back to normal, nothing changes, don't panic. We still care about snapshotting Rip. We still weave bites when we can. We still proc BT when we can. We just don't have to excessively try weave bites and excessively proc BT now. So next up, on a more personal note regarding me and the channel, I won't be rating this tier or even playing the game much at all in the short term, just flat out IRL with a few things, and the game's kind of adding to my stress, the amount of hours I need to play on top of IRL stuff, and even beyond that there's raid prep, ults, week core updates, guide writing and so on. It is a bit of a shame because giving up a lot. It's been a massive few years for me in terms of WoW stuff, and definitely some FOMO not raiding, and even Feral I think is so much fun right now. So it sucks, but real life is really good right now too, and ultimately that's what matters more, right? So we'll be back raiding at some point. Probably some lessons to learn from this, things to cut down on, use my time more efficiently and so on. But yeah, I'll probably just push Mythic Plus, still make YouTube videos when I can, stream when I can. I have some big Mythic Plus videos coming soon, promise. Been saying it for ages, but yeah, it's hard to find time, but they'll be worth it. But yeah, unfortunately no Feral prog kills, which I know are super valuable to people, getting the POVs out early and my talent cooks and so on. But yeah, hope to be back at some point. So lastly, raid builds, just going to talk a bit about talents. I've updated the compendium here with a bunch of build predictions you can try for each boss on Mythic. Obviously I'm not raiding, so I can't test different things between pools and so on. That's up to you guys, but these should be some pretty safe predictions you can start with. One thing I will say, there's an absurd amount of choices for this expansion. It's really awesome. But right now we don't know how vines proc, so naturally sims are going to be a bit inaccurate. And my experience from beta was that Wildstalker was better on single target. Current sims are saying it's worse, and yeah, there's definitely a chance I'm wrong, but I can't stress enough that sims are just kind of a reference to help you make decisions and so on. But 5-minute patchwork doesn't actually exist in the game. Dungeon Slice isn't the dungeon you're actually doing. Sometimes there's bugs with sims, the vines and stuff we don't know. The point is, I'm seeing a lot of talk that Drill the Claw is just BIS in every scenario with 4 set and it's all you play. And I think this kind of thinking it's going to really trap people. Like the amount of rank 1 builds in Dragonfly alone, which didn't seem the best, but were insane in reality. The point is, try both hero trees, try different talents. If I am wrong about Wildstalker, then so be it. But the worst thing for a community to do is pick something based on sims and just write everything else off. It happened with Necro Feral. Like, you couldn't even have a conversation about it in Dreamgrove at one point. People who didn't even know how it worked, just shutting down conversations, saying it was bad because it's sim bad of all fucking reasons. Like, that kind of closed mindset and sort of over-reliance on sims can be really harmful. And if everyone's convinced to play one hero tree and one talent build when something else is actually better, then we all collectively lose, right? Every feral. So starting with some kind of general purpose builds with Drill the Claw, firstly the hero tree, probably always run these talents in raid. If it's a really heavy AoE fight, you can consider killing strikes, but you probably just play Ruthless Aggression. Now this is the best simming single target build with Drill the Claw, pure single target. And we'll kind of go over some of the choices, some of the variations. So firstly, double Tireless Energy instead of Coil to Spring. It sims these two sim very close, and when I force a bit of uptime or downtime into the sim, Tireless Energy gets even better, probably because the increased energy pool. So if you're a player who finds the rotation easier with more energy, you should absolutely run 2 points in Tireless Energy, even if this sim's marginally better. In reality, this is probably better, especially if you're going to make less mistakes with it. Middle section for AoE, actually we'll go into AoE. So if you want AoE, take Primal Wrath, take the point out of Tireless Energy or Coiled. Here you can take Savage Fury for more AoE, but generally, if Tiger's Fury is not aligning with ad spawns, it's not going to really do much. So Sudden Ambush is probably just consistently better. Of course, if you need heavy AoE, take Rampant Ferocity. You could probably drop Moment of Clarity for it. And then, the bottom section. So, this is the best single target setup. If you're taking Primal Wrath, though, you probably want to grab Apex just because there's funnel opportunities and it's going to proc more. Apex and Carnivorous Instinct, pretty close in single target. It's not a huge difference. When you add in Primal Wrath, you probably swap to Apex. If it's really heavy AoE, you can go sort of Rip and Tear, Apex, and then Circle, or even Carnivorous Instinct again. That's kind of Drill the Claw, different sort of choices to make. So common Wildstalker choices. Firstly, if you're playing Lunar Inspiration, you probably want to grab Nurturing Instinct in the Drill tree. I drop Natural Recovery and Verdant Heart, but up to you. The Wildstalker tree, the utility nodes, your choices. This might be useful, the Vortex one on like the last boss and even some other fights with ads, but not too sure. I kind of like the Regrowth talent personally, but up to you. These two kind of locked in. I would say maybe Twin Sprouts if there's heavy AoE or council fight. Otherwise Implant. Drill Tree, Feral Tree, don't worry about Coiled Spring as Wildstalker. If you need Primal Wrath for AoE, you can drop either 1 point in Tireless Energy or you can drop Merciless Claws. It's up to you. So if you're getting a lot of like swipe and berserk damage, you might want to keep Merciless Claws, but if you need energy or you prefer having more energy, then take 2 points in Tireless Energy. Going back to kind of the single target build, middle section, if you don't want to play Lunar Inspiration, if it's too complex or whatever, or too many keybinds, that's okay. You can still play Wildstalker. Take Moment of Clarity, it's only slightly worse. Even Savage Fury is also pretty close. We'll keep LI for now. Bottom section, you don't want to change too much, although there is this alternative single target build, which is kind of what we played in Season 1 and Season 2 of Dragonfly, or parts of it anyway, with no Brutal Slash. They sim dead equal pretty much, so one might actually be better in reality, so feel free to play test it for yourself, see what works for you, see what you like, see if one's actually better in reality. For AoE, like I said, if grabbing Primal Wrath, you can also grab Rampant Ferocity, drop LI for it, but it's probably going to be overkill on most fights. Down the bottom, if you really need more AoE, the only thing you probably change is Feral Frenzy to CI, or for like a council fight, like the second last boss, Unbridled Swarm like that. That's kind of Wildstalker general choices. Oh, also actually Vein Ripper as well, sorry. This is probably pretty good on council fights. In fact, even in single target, it's really, really close. So definitely consider Vein Ripper, sim it, see what your downtime and stuff is like. I think Vein Ripper is really good if there's downtime. So back to the bosses, my prediction is Wildstalker single target, Drew the Claw if there's ads, Wildstalker probably on the Silken Court, the council fight. But yeah, a few things I wanted to point out. Firstly, Rashanan, it has ads you can funnel onto the boss, and you would think Drew the Claw because there's ads, but I actually like Wildstalker more for funnel, specifically because in their best single target build for Wildstalker, you're already taking Apex and you're already taking Circle. So all you need to do is grab Primal Wrath, by dropping one of these, and then you have better funnel than Drew the Claw, because as Drew the Claw, if you want to get Apex and you want to grab Circle, you're gonna have to give up more single target. So I think Wildstalker gives up less single target to funnel. So this is kind of one I really wanted to point out. Also, the Silken Court, there's so many build options. So this is kind of standard council, I would say, in my opinion. Vein Ripper because you want to multi-dot different targets. Lunar Inspiration is good for that as well. You're not just multi-dotting, but because Vein Ripper helps you keep your other dots up, it's easier to keep your Moonfires up. Unbridled Swarm, really good on anything council. It's really good in Dragonflight as well. And Shadowlands as well, actually, for that matter. But yeah, if you want to play Drew the Claw, definitely could be good. This is kind of what I'm recommending. I still recommend Unbridled's Drew the Claw. I think it's going to be too good on council. It's kind of its niche in raid. But yeah, there's also this build. I can't remember who cooked it up. Someone cooked it. I'd love to give them credit. I forget who it is. But yeah, no berserk and kind of no middle. Just pure awesome. I love these kind of cooks. And I haven't simmed this, and it sims like super close to like the regular kind of council build. So give it a go. That boss has the most cook potential for sure. But yeah, the last boss I think is Drew the Claw, just because it's burst AoE. Still want to keep a lot of your single target stuff, and even here probably even go back to CR. I might change this just because it's a little bit better single target. Even though there's ads, I don't think you can really funnel them very much onto the boss, if at all. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Again, I'm not playing, so these are only predictions, up to you guys. So yeah, check out the Feral Compendium if you're interested in the full write-up and all the different builds, some general purpose builds and so on. Also, shout out to the Method Feral Guide, which I wrote for this season. Under the talent section, I wrote quite a decent write-up about the hero talents, when you might play one or the other, their niches and so on, because I see a lot of people asking about this. So yeah, check that out. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That's the video. Mythic +1 next, hopefully soon. Yeah, I'll see you there. Thanks, guys.